Namaste and welcome to Daily News Simplified, the what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Now we would be analyzing the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper of 10th of August 2019, and the news that would be covered today is given on the screen, and the timestamp for the same is given in the description and the comment section given below. And so now with this, let us start with the first section. Now, as part of our continuous coverage of the questions that were asked in the prelims examination of 2019, the question that we're going to discuss today had asked, in India, which of the following review the independent regulators in sectors like telecommunications, insurance, electricity, among others? Now, this question has given 5 options. The first one is the ad hoc committees set up by the parliament. The second option is the parliamentary department related standing committees. The third option is the finance commission. The fourth option is the financial sector legislative reforms commission. And the fifth and the last option is Niti Aayog. Now, it is difficult to remember the mandate of all of these 5 options so as to be able to solve this question. Therefore, what was required was the ability to eliminate options so as to solve this question. Now, the mandate of the Finance Commission has been explained multiple times within the Daily News Simplified video, whereby the terms of references of the 15th Finance Commission, which was continuously within the news, was first explained in the Daily News Simplified video of 23rd of August 2018. Similarly, the mandate of the State Finance Commission was also explained in the Daily News Simplified video of 22nd of August 2018. Similarly, the mandate of the Finance Commission as provided under the Constitution of India under Article 280 was also explained in the Daily News Simplified video of 22nd of October 2018, whereby again the mandate of the Finance Commission under the Constitution of India was again revised in the Daily News Simplified video of 27th of March 2019. And from all of these Daily News Simplified videos, you would have understood that it is not the mandate of the Finance Commission to review independent regulators. Therefore, with the help of any of these Daily News Simplified videos, you would have been able to eliminate option B and option C. Now, similarly, the mandate of the Niti Aayog was also explained in the Daily News Simplified video of 21st of September 2018, again within the Daily News Simplified video of 28th of January 2019. While apart from this, in the Daily News Simplified video of 27th of March 2019, the comparison between the mandate of the Finance Commission and the Niti Aayog was also explained. And with the help of all of these Daily News Simplified videos, you would have understood that it is not a mandate of the Niti Aayog to act as an independent regulator. And therefore, with the help of this, you would have been also able to eliminate option C and option D. And from this, you would have understood that the only correct option to this question would have been A, 1 and 2. So even if you did not know that it is the ad hoc committees set up by the Parliament and the parliamentary department related standing committees, you still would have been able to solve this question by understanding the mandate of the Finance Commission and the Niti Aayog, which are much more mentioned within current affairs, especially within your Hindu newspaper. And so hopefully with this, you get an understanding on how Daily News Simplified videos can help you in solving questions within your prelims examination. And therefore with this, let us move on to the first article for today. Now we have taken this editorial from the editorial page on page 10. Now according to the author, when we say that India is a democracy, it includes a guarantee that is provided within our own constitution that we as citizens of India enjoy a set of rights, whereby this set of rights includes the freedom of expression, life and liberty, and of equal opportunity and equal status. However, according to the author, just listing these rights within our own constitution does not necessarily ensure that they are provided by the government in power to the Indian citizens. Therefore, according to the author, there has to be some form of mechanism through which such rights are enforced on the ground, whereby such mechanisms would ensure that the government in power is duty bound to provide such rights to the Indian citizens. And according to the author, the Right to Information Act of 2005 is one such mechanism. Now, the Right to Information Act of 2005 brought in a transformation in the functioning of democracy within India, whereby it revolutionized the ability of Indian citizens to hold our government in power accountable, whereby the Indian citizens were able to find out the truth from its own government, which the government did not want to directly reveal. Now, this was seen during the Commonwealth Games within Delhi in 2010, in which the misuse of funds was found out through the help of the Right to Information Act. Similarly, the problems in forming the NRC within the state of Assam is also being put forward to the Indian public through the use of the Right to Information Act of 2005. Now, it is within that context that the Supreme Court of India has also said on repeated occasions that the Right to Information Act of 2005 is intrinsic and essential to the right to freedom of expression. Now, according to the author, the new amendments that has been introduced to the Right to Information Act of 2005 is going to weaken the law and therefore our ability as citizens of India to hold our government accountable. Now, as we have already understood in the Daily News Simplified video of 23rd of July, the central government has introduced two main changes to the Right to Information Act, whereby the first change which the government has brought is now the central government would notify the term of offices of the Chief Information Commissioner and of the Information Commissioners, whereby earlier under the Act, the tenure of the CIC and the IC were fixed. However, under the new amendment, it would be the central government who would decide as to what would be the term of offices of the newly appointed CIC and the IC. Apart from this, the second major change being brought in under the Right to Information Act is with regards to the salary of the Chief Information Commissioner and of the Information Commissioners, whereby now the salaries, allowance, and other terms of conditions of services of both the central and state CICs and the Information Commissioners will now be determined by the central government. Whereby what used to happen earlier was that at the central level, the salary of the Chief Information Commissioner was equal to the salary of the Chief Election Commissioner, while the salary of the Information Commissioner was equal to the salary of the Election Commissioners. And similarly at the state level, the salary of the Chief Information Commissioner was equivalent to the salary of the Election Commissioner, and the salary of the Information Commissioners was equal to the salary of the Chief Secretary of that state. Now, the main critique of the recently brought amendment to the Right to Information Act is that it dilutes the autonomy of the Information Commission from interference from the central government, whereby security in services of the Information Commissioners and the Chief Information Commissioner ensures freedom of action. Now, the author is trying to make a connection that the new RTA Amendment Bill will dilute the autonomy and the independence of the Chief Information Commissioner and the Information Commission, since they would become more dependent on the government in power for ensuring their job security, whereby they would be dependent upon the government to ensure a better salary and a better tenure. And therefore, according to the author, this might lead to a situation in which the Chief Information Commissioner and the Information Commissioners may not provide the correct information or incomplete information if the information which is being provided is against the interest of the government. So in simple terms, if let's say the government is able to pressurize the Chief Information Commissioner or Information Commissioners with regards to the misuse of funds within the Commonwealth Games or the problems with regards to the implementation of the NRC within the state of Assam, or any other information with regards to the misuse of fund or weakness in the implementation of a government policy, then it is most likely that the government in power would put pressure on the CIC and the IC to not give out such information to the Indian public, which then can be used by the Indian public and the media to hold the government accountable, and then used by the opposition to tarnish the image of the government in power. Now, this is the reason as to why the new amendment, which is being brought to the Right to Information Act of 2005, is being heavily opposed within India, especially by the civil society. Now, you need to understand that this Right to Information Amendment Bill is still news in transition. And more importantly, let us wait and see as to what would be the viewpoint of the Supreme Court once this bill becomes an act. Now, as we have already understood in the Daily News Simplified video of 23rd of July 2019, the amendment which is being brought to the Right to Information Act and the critique of this new bill should be seen first from the perspective of GS Paper 2 within the section Governance and Polity, and more importantly, it should be seen from the perspective of GS Paper 4 within the section Property in Governance, and more specifically within the section Right to Information, which forms a separate part of your GS Paper 4, and also from the subsection Information Sharing and Transparency in Government. So now hopefully you've understood the main focus of the author within this editorial. And so now with this, let us move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 1. Now what had happened is that the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was amended in 2018, whereby under this new amendment to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, it gave home buyers the status of financial creditors, and it also allowed home buyers to become a part of the committee of creditors. Now, a financial creditor under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code is basically a person to whom a financial debt is owed. Now, let's say, for example, there is a real estate company which is building a large housing society within, let's say, Noida. Now, what has happened is that this particular real estate company has run out of funds and would not be able to complete this project. However, because this real estate company has already taken loans from banks or from non banking finance companies, and also taken money from home buyers. Now, apart from this real estate company would also be owing money to its employees, to different other companies from which it has taken raw material, and apart from other forms of what are called operational creditors. Now, what has happened under the new amendment in August of 2018 to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code is that this new act has brought the home buyers on par with the creditor bankers. So, if this real estate company goes into liquidation under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, then home buyers would also get the money after the liquidation of this particular real estate company. Whereby what used to happen earlier, in simplest of terms, is that it was generally the bank creditors who would first get the money after the real estate company has been liquidated. But what this would do is leave the home buyers without an option, whereby they would not have a home. Apart from this, they would also not get money back from either the real estate company or through the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Therefore, it is within that context that the Government of India enacted the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Second Amendment Act, whereby it ensured the status of home buyers as financial creditors. Therefore, if ever this real estate company goes into liquidation, then the home buyers would also get the money after this company has been liquidated. Now, apart from this, one other feature of the amendment brought in August of 2018 with regards to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was that it enabled the home buyers who had purchased home under real estate projects to invoke Section 7 of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, whereby under Section 7 it allows the financial creditors to file an application in the National Company Law Tribunal or the NCLT, whereby under Section 7 of the IBC, the financial creditors can initiate corporate insolvency resolution process against a defaulting company. Now, what used to happen earlier is that it was majorly the banks in India that were able to bring a company towards an insolvency resolution. However, now since the home buyers have also been given the status of financial creditors, then if some real estate company does not provide the homes on time because it does not have the funds, then the home buyers can begin insolvency resolution process against this particular real estate company through Section 7 of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Now, what had happened afterwards is that the builders or the real estate companies opposed the amendment brought into the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, whereby they said that the home buyers are already protected under the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act, or what is known as the RERA Act. And therefore, according to the builders, it was not required to bring in the home buyers as being financial creditors under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Now, under the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act, it allows the home buyers the right to demand a refund of the entire amount paid, together with interest if the builder is not able to complete the project. Therefore, within that context, the builders were saying that home buyers are already protected under the RERA Act. But this argument given out by the real estate companies and builders was rejected by the Supreme Court, whereby, as we can see from this article, the Supreme Court upheld the Second Amendment to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, whereby it said that home buyers can both be protected under the RERA Act and also under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Now, this editorial and the explanation given in this section should be seen from the perspective of GS Paper 2 within the section Polity and Governance. And so now with this, let us move on to the next article. Now, we have taken this article from page 12. Now, what has happened is that the Government of India has decided to provide the rotavirus vaccine to every child across all the states and union territories within India by September of 2019. Now, what currently happens is that each year within India, 37 of every 1,000 children that are born are unable to live beyond the age of 5. And one of the major reasons as to why children are not able to live beyond the age of 5 within India is because of their death due to diarrhea. whereby rotavirus is the leading cause of diarrhea in children who are less than 5 years of age. Now, within India, rotavirus vaccine is part of the universal immunization program of the Government of India, whereby 3 doses of the rotavirus vaccine are provided to children free of cost under the universal immunization program. Now, this rotavirus vaccine was introduced within the year 2016 and is currently being implemented within India in a phased manner, whereby currently the rotavirus vaccine is available in 28 states and union territories. And it is expected that the rotavirus vaccine would be available across all the states and union territories within India by September of 2019. Now, the rotavirus basically damages the cells of the small intestine of small children, whereby this damage to the small intestine blocks the ability of the small children to absorb water and nutrients. And therefore, the children lose interest in eating and drinking and become dehydrated from loss of fluids, whereby all of these factors together lead to diarrhea within that children. Now, this rotavirus is very contagious and spreads easily from children to children. Apart from this, cases of spreading of rotavirus from children to adults have also been seen. Now, the most common method through which the rotavirus is spread is through the fecal oral route of transmission. So, let's say if fluid from one children in the form of sweat, in the form of spit, or even in the form of fecal is a common route of transmission of rotavirus from one children to another. Now, apart from this, what you should also know is that the rotavirus vaccine will not prevent or protect from diarrhea which are caused by other germs. So now what this basically means is that even if the children are fully immunized against the rotavirus, they may still get diarrhea caused by other diseases. Therefore, to ensure that children do not die because of diarrhea, it is required that first they are given the rotavirus vaccine. Apart from this, proper sanitation methods such as hand washing should also be undertaken with regards to children. And apart from this, ORS and zinc supplementation can also be provided to children so that they do not die because of diarrhea. Now, these are some of the facts that you needed to understand about the rotavirus, especially with regards to your prelims examination. And hopefully, you've understood the recent context with regards to the rotavirus and the basic facts about the rotavirus and the rotavirus vaccine. And so, now with this, let us move on to the next article. Now, we have taken this article from page 7. Now, what has happened is that recently there was heavy flooding within the western Maharashtra region. And according to this article, one of the main reasons as to why there was heavy flooding within the West Maharashtra region was that the various dams within the state of Maharashtra did not release their water on time. Now, what this article has highlighted is that there were strong indications that the dams within the city of Koyna, Varna, and Radhanagari were getting full within the last week of July itself. But what had happened is that the administrators of these dams did not release the water on time. Therefore, when heavy rainfall occurred within the western Maharashtra region in the first week of August, the various dams were located within the region had no capacity to hold the increased amount of water. Apart from this, what also happened is that because of the heavy rainfall, the dams also had to release the water that they had stored. Because what was happening is that because of the increased rainfall, the water table within the dam itself was also being increased. And therefore, to relieve the pressure of the dam from the increased amount of water, the dams then had to release the water downstream. And this led to further flooding within the western Maharashtra region. Now, what this basically means is, let's say there is a particular dam. Now, this dam is already holding or storing water at its 80% capacity. Now, what happens soon afterwards is that there is heavy rainfall, and the river on which this particular dam has been formed continues to bring the additional water to this particular dam because of the heavy rainfall. Therefore, what happens soon afterward is the capacity of this dam increases to 100%. But because of the continuous rainfall, the river keeps on bringing additional water to the dam. Now, since this particular dam is not able to hold the additional water, what it does is that it releases the water so as to reduce its capacity so that it is able to hold the additional water which is coming from the river. Now, this is what has happened within the western Maharashtra region, whereby during the month of July, the dams were already holding water between 50 to 80% of their capacity. Therefore, when the heavy rainfall started within the first week of August, their capacity soon reached 100%, and therefore they had to release the water. which led to further flooding within the downstream region of that particular river. Now, the main problem highlighted within this article is that if the administrators of those dams had released the water or the stored water on time, whereby it was not required for them to hold 50 to 80% capacity within the month of July, they would have acted as a barrier to the flooding water rather than contributing towards the flooding itself. So now hopefully up till here you've understood the main crux of this article. Now within the Hindu newspaper of 28th of August 2018, an editorial had come up which had explained on how dams can control floods, whereby this editorial was linked to the flooding that had occurred in the state of Kerala. Now what I'll do is add this section from the Daily News Simplified video of 28th of August so that you can further understand on how dams can be used to control floods. Now according to the author in this article, the main purpose of dams is first for irrigation, and the second is power production, and the third main purpose of dam is flood control. Now according to the author, prior to monsoons, it is an international practice to keep the water level of reservoirs in dams below a certain level. And this is because by keeping the water level of reservoirs in a dam below a certain level, it ensures space for storage of excess rainwater that may fall in the monsoon season. And therefore it allows the regulation of the outflow of water from the dam itself. However, the author has raised various concerns that were highlighted during the recent Kerala floods, wherein according to the author, the maximum amount of water that can be stored in reservoirs in Kerala were kept before the monsoon. And this was because so as to ensure greater irrigation and electricity generation. Wherein according to the author, only two purposes of the dam, which is irrigation and electricity generation, are being prioritized in India. And apart from this, the third and the last concern raised by the author is that there are multiple agencies or departments which are involved in dam management in India. And therefore, according to the author, because multiple departments or agencies are involved in dam management, it thereby leads to mismanagement. So now hopefully up till here you understood that according to the author, the main purpose of dam is first irrigation, second is power production, and the third is flood control. And moreover, according to the author, there is an international practice that prior to monsoons, water level of reservoir in dams is kept below a certain level, and the water level of reservoirs in dam is kept below a certain level so as to ensure a space for storage of excess rainwater that may fall in the monsoon season. Wherein by ensuring space for storage of excess rainwater, it allows the dam managers to regulate the outflow of water. However, the author has raised various concerns that were highlighted with regards to dam management during the Kerala floods, wherein the maximum amount of water that can be stored in reservoirs and dams was actually kept before the Kerala floods, and the maximum amount of water was stored in reservoirs and dams before the monsoon in India so as to ensure greater irrigation and electricity generation. Wherein, according to the author, only two purposes of dams, which is greater irrigation and electricity generation, wherein according to the author, the third purpose of the dam, which is flood control, is not being prioritized in India. And the third and the last concern raised by the author is that there are multiple departments and agencies which are involved in dam management. And these multiple departments or agencies, and according to the author, these multiple department agencies lead to mismanagement of dams. Now, with regards to this, the author has given various recommendations for better dam management in India. Wherein the first recommendation given by the author is to maintain at least 30% storage space before the monsoon. The second recommendation given by the author is to form State Department Security Authority to be entrusted with water management in reservoirs in India. Is that there should be greater cooperation between the Central Water Commission and the state governments. Wherein the fourth and the last recommendation given by the author is to equally prioritize flood control as a purpose of the dam. So now hopefully up till here you understood the four main recommendations given by the author for better dam management in India. When the first recommendation given by the author is to maintain at least 30% storage space in reservoirs and dams before the monsoon. When the second recommendation given by the author is to form a state dam security authority for reservoir management. The third recommendation given by the author is to ensure greater cooperation between the Central Water Commission and state governments. And the fourth and the last recommendation given by the author is to equally prioritize flood control as being one of the main functions of the dam. So now hopefully up till here you've understood the crux of this article. Now let us understand as to where it will be placed in your UPSC syllabus. Wherein this article and the explanation given in this section would be placed in GS paper 3 within the section Disaster Management, and within the subsection Disaster and Disaster Management. And so now with this, let us move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 6. Now what this article talks about is that the Chief Minister of the state of Sikkim has said that Article 371F would not be touched upon by the central government. Whereby, as you already know, that Article 370, which is related to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, was recently changed. And within that context, there were several concerns that were raised within the state of Sikkim as to whether the Article 371F would also be changed. And it is within that context that the Chief Minister of the state of Sikkim has said that Article 371F would not be changed. Whereby, according to the Chief Minister, Article 371F is one of the key terms of the merger of the state of Sikkim with India in 1975. So now hopefully up till here you've understood the main focus of this article. However, what is required to be understood from this article are various facts about Article 371F, and we're going to understand these facts with the help of questions for practice. Now there are two questions for your practice, and what you need to do is pause this video, solve both of these questions, and wait for 5 seconds for the correct answer. Now with regards to statement number 1 of question number 1, Article 371F provides special provisions which are temporary and transitional in nature for the state of Sikkim. Therefore, statement number 1 would be incorrect. Now, with regards to statement number 2, Article 371F does provide that Legislative Assembly of that state shall not consist less than 30 members. While with regards to statement number 3, the Parliament can provide reservation of seats within the Sikkim Legislative Assembly for the protection of particular sections of society within the state of Sikkim. Therefore, the correct answer to question number 1 would be B, 2 and 3. Now, with regards to statement number 1 of question number 2, Clause G of Article 371F does provide that the Governor of Sikkim shall have special responsibility for ensuring peace and equitable arrangement for social and economic advancement of different sections of the population of Sikkim. Apart from this, statement number 2 is correct, whereby the President can extend into the state of Sikkim any law which is in enforcement within India, while statement number 3 is incorrect, whereby under Clause M of Article 371F, the Supreme Court or any other court within India shall not have jurisdiction in respect to any dispute or matter arising out of any treaty, agreement, engagement, or any other similar instrument relating to the state of Sikkim which was entered or executed before the appointment day, whereby the appointed day is the date of commencement of the Constitution 36th Amendment Act of 1975. Therefore, the Supreme Court will have jurisdiction with regards to dispute arising in relation to Sikkim which had occurred after the appointment day. And it is within that context as to why statement number 3 would be wrong. And therefore, the correct answer to question number 2 would be A, 1 and 2. So now hopefully up till here you've understood the main facts that are required to be remembered, especially with regards to your prelims examination about Article 371F. And so now with this, let us move on to the next section. Now we have taken this article from page 8. Now what this article highlights is that IIT Hyderabad and the Harvard University have undertaken a joint research with regards to studying mercury accumulation within fish. Now this is an ongoing research program, and one of the observations which has been made in this joint study is that there has been a decrease in the levels of mercury pollution because the amount of mercury found in some fish is less than before. However, apart from this, what this article highlights is that in some fishes, the level of mercury has been found much higher than before. Now, what you need to understand from this article are various facts about mercury pollution, and you need to understand them from the perspective of your prelims examination. And therefore, again, what we're going to do is understand these facts with help from questions for practice. Now, there are two questions for your practice, and as you already understand, pause this video, solve both of these questions, and wait for 5 seconds for the correct answer. Now, with regards to statement number 1 of question number 3, mercury is a toxic element which currently pollutes land, water, and also air. Therefore, within that regard, statement number 1 would be incorrect. Now, with regards to statement number 2, mercury contamination is due to both man-made and natural causes, whereby volcanic eruptions, deep sea erosion, and other factors also lead to the release of mercury within the environment. Therefore, within that regard, statement number 2 would also be incorrect. Now, with regards to statement number 3, mercury is poisonous in all of its form, either inorganic, organic, or elemental. Therefore, the correct answer to question number 3 would be C, 3 only. Now, with regards to statement number 1 of question number 4, which was signed under the United Nations, is associated with combating mercury based pollution. Now, methyl mercury is an inorganic form of mercury and is one of the most common form of mercury pollutant. Now, methyl mercury does accumulate through bioaccumulation and biomagnification within fishes across the world. Therefore, statement number 2 would be correct. Now, with regards to statement number 3, it is not only the hazardous waste management rules of 2016 which provides for the disposal of mercury waste, whereby both the solid waste management routes and the e-waste management routes also contain details on how to dispose mercury waste. Therefore, the correct answer to question number 4 would be A, 1 and 2. And now with this, we come to an end in the analysis of today's newspaper. Now we move on to the question for today.